So fire, it's this incredibly hot, hungry creature that always needs oxygen just to stay alive. And wind? Well, wind is really just air moving around outside. Sometimes it blows straight, but other times the air just spins. Now, what's really interesting is what happens when a huge roaring fire happens to meet that spinning wind. Something genuinely strange occurs. They join together and start this really dangerous dance. Hot air is incredibly light, It always wants to travel up into the sky, and a fire pushes that hot air up so fast, it's almost like the fire is trying to touch the clouds. But when all that hot air goes rushing up, it leaves this massive empty space near the ground. And nature absolutely hates empty spaces. So I wonder what happens next. Cool air rushes right in to fill that gap, pushing toward the flames from every single side to make sure that space isn't empty anymore. It's like a big, invisible crowd shoving to get to the front. Because the air is rushing in from everywhere at once, it bumps into itself. It simply can't go straight in, so it has no choice but to begin to turn and twist and spin. That spinning wind grabs the very bottom of the fire, twisting the flames into this tight, small spiral. We call that a tiny fire whirl. As even more hot air rushes up into the sky, it makes that spin go much, much faster. It works exactly like a spinning toy top that just keeps getting a fresh push. Those spinning flames start stretching higher and higher into the air, growing into this tall column. It looks like a bright orange rope stretching toward the clouds. Most of these fire whirls stay super small. They last for just a few seconds before they fall apart and completely disappear. But a giant forest fire acts very differently. It's so huge that it actually creates its own strange weather. That massive fire makes a giant cloud of heat, and that cloud acts like a giant chimney, pulling air straight up with terrible strength. The wind rushing into this massive space gets super strong. It fuels the growth, feeding that small fire whirl until it starts to become something else entirely. It grows until that fire tube reaches high into the dark sky, getting thicker and much more powerful. Now it's a true fire tornado. What's totally wild is that the core is made of pure flame. The inside is unbelievably hot, burning absolutely everything it touches. It's almost mesmerizing if it weren't so scary. That spinning wind acts almost like an invisible wall, trapping all that deep heat inside. It keeps the center blazing, like a giant spinning oven that just gets hotter and hotter. As it breathes in dirty air, eating up loose dirt and hot ash, the flames turn this heavy, dark red color. It's like it's turning into a different kind of monster right before your eyes. The giant spin gets stronger every minute, pulling up rocks and heavy branches and just throwing them far, far away with incredible force. A massive fire tornado can even lift heavy trees, pulling them right out of the ground and tossing them around like they were just tiny wooden toys. And then the fire monster starts to walk. It moves away from the main blaze, traveling across the dry land and changing everything in its path. It moves incredibly fast, much faster than any person could ever run. You simply cannot outrun this spinning fire, no matter how fast you are. Firefighters are incredibly brave, but even they cannot fight a fire tornado. It's too big, too wild. Even heavy water hoses do nothing because the spinning wind just blows the water right away, and the fire keeps burning bright. They have to stay very far back and just wait for the wind to stop. They can't stop the spinning monster themselves. They just have to wait for nature to calm down. History shows us the power of these spins. A famous fire tornado once struck a huge city in Japan after an earthquake, destroying many homes in minutes. Another wild forest fire in Australia spun completely out of control, reaching into dark storm clouds. And more recently, California saw a terrible one that flattened heavy steel towers with winds stronger than a hurricane. Scientists wanted to understand this giant spin, to know exactly how the monster is born. So they started to deeply study the forests, putting strong cameras near big fires to watch how the hot wind twists the flames and measuring the speed of the heat. They learned that for a fire tornado to form, a few things have to happen at once. Massive heat, swirling wind, and dry fuel must all meet perfectly.
As the earth gets hotter, forests get very dry in the summer, burning much more easily. Bigger fires mean these giant spins might happen more often now, and we need to be ready for that. That knowing how they form helps keep people safe. Weather computers can spot the perfect conditions, sending early warnings so firefighters know when to tell people to leave their homes. Because escaping early is the only safe choice. No house is strong enough to survive it. Running away is what actually saves human lives. After it passes, the land is black and everything looks totally dead. But the story doesn't actually end there. Nature has a really long memory. The ash left behind is full of good food for the soil, and soon seeds crack open in the deep earth. New life begins to slowly grow, clearing away the old dead wood so new trees can stand tall. It's a cycle of renewal. We build our homes close to these deep, pretty forests, which puts us in danger. We have to learn to live with fire, building safer homes and clearing dry brush, because we just don't control the wild weather. We have to respect the rules of nature. Fire tornadoes are the absolute collision of heat and wind. They show us that nature is totally untamed and powerful, and we survive by respecting wild forces we just cannot control. If this sparked a little wonder for you today, take a second to like this story, share it with someone who loves a good tale, and subscribe to keep learning with us.